Marcus, as you head to the beach from the lookout. Yeah.
All right. Of course, that vote that you just sent in broke the tie. I don't know if Richard have the same count as I.
Yeah, I had a tie too. I had a tie too. All right, somebody's system is low.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Richard, you had 10 all before that vote came in?
Yeah.
Right. So it's now 11-10. 11 people said yes, and 10 said no.
Right. Okay. Because it was even at the point that we went to the news.
Yeah. Yeah. So 11 people said yes, they are concerned about monkeypox becoming a pandemic, and 10 people said no. All right.
All right. All right, gentlemen. I need to do a reboot on our PC here, so I may have to be offline for a minute.
I hope they don't underestimate this one too and wait long.
What is that, Paul? You said something.
I hope they don't underestimate this one also.
The monkeypox?
Which is what we spoke about first. You know, I will stop sending suggestions all you for interviews.
But he's right though. Brian Manning is just going to proffer the what the Minister of Finance says. He's a junior minister, Minister of Finance.
We have interviewed him on other issues before, so why not on this?
No, we could still have him, I guess.
Because we want an objective assessment. Not that he's not objective, but a non-political assessment of the rating from the agency.
Well, we could challenge him on what he says.
I am not qualified to challenge him on what he says.
You qualified on everything. I think you are.
You want Brian Manning? Like Steve called Brian Manning now. Wendell clearly wants to talk to Brian Manning this morning.
No, is he reached out to me, you know?
I will call him right now if you want. Let's do that.
He reached out to me, so I said, not a problem. Let me get the opinion of the guys and get back to you.
I have no problem talking to Brian Manning. I'm just not qualified to challenge him. He's a financially trained, you know.
Yeah, I haven't read that S&P thing. I've been sent it by various people, but I haven't really read it.
But I mean, yes, but we can't speak to Brian because he is a junior minister in the Ministry of Finance. But basically, we expect him to parrot what the Minister of Finance says.
Yeah, he has no choice.
No, don't say he has no choice.
He has no choice. He can't go against the minister's statements. You mad?
But what the minister stated, we don't even know.
That it shows Trinidad and Tobago is a stable investment grade economy.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying the minister is wrong?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm not qualified to counter him, if that's what he said. I don't know what Standard & Poor's ratings mean, besides what they say it mean. You can put me in my place.
Well, we could hear Brian's opinion of it as minister in the Ministry of Finance.
Steve, call Brian Manning. Clearly, Wendell wants to speak to Brian Manning this morning.
I tell you, I know nothing about the S&P ratings. I haven't read it. Brian Manning said he would like to speak on it, so I said, fine, let me find out from the guys, the eminently qualified guys.
You want to speak to what's his name? Former chair of TNTech too.
Who's that?
The UNC Shadow Finance Minister.
Who's that?
I forget his name.
Has the UNC issued a statement concerning the S&P ratings? Have they said anything about it?
One of them did.
Well, let's hear from them too.
They said it just means that we are. They said it just means that we're a notch above junk status.
Which has been the statement generally.
A little better than the bad place we were. Is that what this is?
Recording in progress.
I don't know if they're right or not.
That's what if you're not trained for that, you know you're going to know if they're right or not. They could be talking stupidness too.
They can be talking stupidness too.
Well,
I saw it this morning.
UNC have a reputation for talking stupidness, but they don't mean they're talking stupidness in this instant.
All right, well, gentlemen, let's bring in Mr. Brian Manning. Good morning. How you doing?
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're well. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks for having me.
We are well.
Good morning, Brian Manning, and you should thank Wendell Stevens, who advocated ferociously for you to be on this morning.
Wendell has always been a good guy.
Good morning. morning, Minister Brian Manning. You see,
Minister Manning, sorry, yes.
they don't want to believe.
Always play that good guy.
They don't want to believe you reached out to me. Tell them that for me now.
It has nothing to do with his political allegiance.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. He's clearly objective in having you, the junior minister of finance, working alongside and under Colm Imber in talking about what the Ministry of Finance and the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago thinks about the recent Standard & Poor's rating.
Paul, you know the word junior minister don't exist anymore, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Minister of State and the Minister of Finance. Is that the official term?
It is.
He is the Minister of Finance, Minister of State, and the Ministry of Finance, working alongside and under the tutelage and guidance of the Honourable Colm Imber, Minister of Finance, to tell us about what the Standard & Poor's rating objectively and independently.
Of course. No, I saw some comments over the weekend from various some of these so-called economists. I saw one economist, I think it was Valmiki, whatever his name is, has said that it wasn't important, that our credit rating wasn't important. And I just wonder how anybody with any economic background can make such a statement. Clearly, our credit rating affects every interest rate in the country. I mean, every single one. It affects the cost of borrowing going forward. It affects the cost that even the average citizen of Trinidad and Tobago can borrow money. So to say it doesn't affect the cost of living is something that I don't understand. It is extremely important. Trinidad and Tobago is the only country in this region that would have come out of COVID with a better credit rating than going in.
All right, Brian, one second. Oh, sorry, Minister Manning, 1 second. Give us, for those who do not understand, give us a sense of what the rating categories are, where we were before this rating and where we are now, and then we could go into what it is.
You're asking me for an economics lesson there. But
in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's we are an investment grade country. Okay, investment grade means that we are one of the safer countries for foreign direct investment and so on. What some of the critics have been saying is that our rating has been falling since 2010, which is not exactly accurate. It's actually been falling since 2008, since the financial crisis of that era. And what happened between the 2010 to 2015 is that the government of the time would have loaded up on a lot of debt. And in 2014, we saw a global collapse in energy prices. But that didn't stop them in 2015 from foisting on us the single largest budget in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. Then again, energy prices collapsed in 2016, and we have been trying to dig ourselves out from under that debt ever since. Then we got hit by COVID now in 2020. So it's been an extremely challenging time economically. And for us to maintain the credit rating that we have and to actually improve our outlook, it shows the fantastic effort and work by the Ministry of Finance and the government as a whole in terms of managing our fiscal affairs. And that's why it's so important to us and to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
What is junk bond status mean? What does that mean? I'm not saying that we are, but I just want to get some context into what the others...
Junk bond, what it does is it severely limits your ability to borrow money. It says that you're not very credit worthy. Your ability to repay your debt has been severely impaired and impacted. Okay, so there's junk bond status, and then there is speculative, and then there's investment grade. Trinidad and Tobago is the only investment grade country in CARICOM at this point in time. And maybe in the region, even parts of Latin America, where we would be one of the few investment grade countries in this entire region. So that's something extremely significant.
Is it that our ranking improved? Did it what was it then, the last assessment, and where is it now?
We are BBB minus, which makes us investment grade, which is adequate, but what improved was our outlook. And if you remember the last time, we went from stable to negative, and there was a whole hullabaloo about us being downgraded, which is an actual downgrade. There was a change of our outlook. But now the outlook has improved. And the same person who was saying a downgrade before are not saying upgrade now, which is strange. But it shows that the kind of sure economic footing that we're on, and that our policies that we have put in place, even coming out of a pandemic, that the global economy basically shut down for 2 years. The worst economic downturn in over 100 years. And Trinidad has come out of it in a position where can grow our economy and really attract foreign direct investment to create jobs and to improve the quality of life of the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
What are so you mentioned the outlook aspect of it. Are there different categories within the single particular rating that people should be focusing their attention on?
Yes, there's positive, there's stable, and then there's negative. So we were in a negative position before. We have improved our outlook to stable.
Is this in any way related to the good fortunes we've enjoyed in the last 6 months or so with the energy commodity prices changing direction?
That too, and proper fiscal management. It's not just about your revenues, but how your revenues are used, and also your debt management. We have, really managed our debt well. As you know, during the COVID crisis, we had to borrow significant amounts of money in order to fuel our social safety net and to keep this country running, while energy prices at one point fell to zero, absolutely collapsed. But we managed it in such a way that we were able to repay a significant portion of that debt coming out of this COVID crisis. And that's why it's such an important, I would say, watershed moment for our economy.
Rushton Parry, the UNC representative from Yarrow, is saying that it's just one grade above junk bond, and that and it's more in the speculative risk area. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, Mr. Parry should bat in his crease. Okay, we are, as I said earlier, we have the lowest cost of living in the entire region. Also, we are the only investment-grade country in the entire region, and S&P has said that there's a possibility for an actual upgrade within the next year or two. So we are in a really good position in terms of our economic management and stability. And of course, the government is doing various programs which we can now implement now that we've come out of this COVID period, where we can create jobs, improve our economy, and really improve the lives of people of this country. And that's what we're excited about, and that's what we're ready to do at this point.
When you say improve the economy, because you're talking about, you're saying generic words, could you be a little bit more specific about what the government's plans are to improve the economy?
Project that we had in mind, I know we had the Phoenix Park project, things were shut down for a bit, get back to more construction within HGC housing, a lot of the local government efforts in terms of drainage, infrastructure, all of those things are going to be the focus of our spending going forward. There's only so much I can say at this point. We have our national budget, which is coming up soon in September, where all will be revealed. We have invested a whole lot. We just borrowed quite a bit of money from the CAF for digital transformation. We have been working extremely hard in terms of making government services more accessible to the people of Trinidad and Tobago through digitization. And it's just going to be a ramp up of exactly what it is we have been working to do all of this time. Things were severely slowed down by COVID. You are going to see a government that is out there and going to work and really putting this country on the path to economic growth. And that is what we want.
Yeah. Minister, I know that there was a focus, at least a statement made, about paying off some of the local contractors and, of course, the VAT refunds to businesses and so on. How has that been going? We haven't gotten an update on that.
Yes, we're gradually doing that. Of course, that's one of the ways that we can pump money back into this economy. With the windfall, we are working to repay all outstanding debts, at least for the most part, the ones that can be, I would say, justified and confirmed. And we are working diligently to do that within this fiscal year.
Minister Manning, the substantive minister, Minister Imber, in the Senate a couple of weeks ago, gave us an update on Trinidad and Tobago's debt to GDP ratio. It was, in my memory, I could be wrong, heading close to 87 or 89%. Can you give us an update on that, where we are, where we were in 2015, and how the debt to GDP ratio has evolved to 2022 in the context of that Standard & Poor rating?
I can tell you right now that it's significantly lower than that point at this moment, but I am not authorized to give you the exact figure. That will come in time and will probably come from Minister Imber himself. But it is significantly lower than that 80% that you would have heard then. and it's because we have had a decided program where we are going to pay off our debt as quickly and as aggressively as we possibly can. We have been running deficit budgets in this country since about 2008, and it has really been a weight, a drag on this economy.
Now, let me just ask you a question, Mason. Is that figure that's going to come from the Minister Imber inclusive of what is going to be owed to public servants, the debt carried over by the former Petrotrin, the debt of WASA, the borrowings, etc.? I never know how it's disaggregated.
Yeah, so all of those debts will be included as our national debt, so they're all included. But the important point that I'm trying to make is that carrying debt serves to be a drag on the overall economy, because you're taking money to pay off debt, which you could have been using to invest in the economy. And that's why it's so important to keep your debt as low as possible. And that's one of the biggest things that we are working to do.
Do you think the present levels of debt we're incurring, because the Prime Minister indicated in his last, it's not addressed to the nation, but his last conversation with the country a couple of days ago, that when he broke down the issue of the money we're making now from the windfall with energy prices, what is before the government in terms of the possible debt to public servants and the other investment, the other areas government needs to service. How much of our debt being incurred now is being pumped into what may be described as productive endeavors that will bear fruit in the future and not just pay recurrent expenditures and debt that's coming from the past?
But that's exactly the benefit that we have right now into coming out of COVID. We don't have to direct as much funding towards social development, social welfare, and our social safety net programs, because people are now going back out to work and are getting out there. So we are going to focus on really a lot of our PSIP projects, projects that are going to create sustainable jobs. We have the several construction projects, HCC, the Eastern Port of Spain project, the port in Point Fortin, Marina in Tobago. All of these major projects that are designed to really generate additional revenues and to grow the GDP of this country, they're all going to get going now. COVID has really severely hampered a lot of this growth.
You know, I'm going to interrupt you there. One of the issues that this government has had, and I know that COVID came in 2020, it was declared a pandemic, but the government had from 2015 to 2020, and yes, there were depressed energy prices, but a lot of the projects that were identified at the start of the administration, let's say 2 years into the administration, because you had a transition from the People's Partnership into the PNM government, Dr. Roddy's PNM government, never materialized. We heard about a Port Tobago. We heard about several big projects that never materialized. So let me just finish. One of the issues that this government has had is execution.
I wouldn't say execution, it's been funding. Is that you can gloss over the downturn in oil and gas prices in 2014 and 2016. If you remember, at one point, oil had hit, I think, $28 a barrel, which is it's difficult to implement projects for revenue generation when your own revenues have been so severely hampered. Also, we were saddled with huge debts. In 2015, in the middle of crashing oil and gas prices, the People's Partnership decided in their wisdom to voice the single largest budget in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And a lot of it, a significant portion of that budget would have been financed through debt. So we have had to, pay down our debts over a period of time while also finding financing and funding for growth projects that actually generate revenues and create jobs, which has been an extremely difficult task. From 2015 to 2020, I would say that the PNM government has really stabilized our economy and poised us to put us in a position for growth. There were a lot of things that had to be paid off. We had no more credit at the central bank. We were in a very bad situation.
So we're predicating the PSIP projects on the present energy boom. What happens if that changes? Because it can change in a minute. The Prime Minister indicated in his conversation recently that America is pushing down their gas prices, which will have a direct effect on our gas prices and our oil prices, our revenues from those. So what happens if that turnaround or that boom doesn't continue?
On our improved fiscal management of this economy. You have to also realize things have improved dramatically. We have more credit at the central bank. Our HSF, as you will see soon, is larger than it was before. We've put money in the HSF So there's a lot more funding available. Because of our credit rating, we now have access to financing at a much lower rate than the rest of the region. And all of this, even if we see a fall or a return to normal of energy prices anytime soon, we have put the economy in a situation where we can fiscally support these projects to bring extra revenues, revenue generation to this country. So it is not just the improvement in international energy prices that are benefiting us. It is because the economy is being better managed by this government.
So are you saying that now we have learned to live on a $25 a barrel oil or $2.25 per MMBTU? Is that where we are basing our projections?
What you have to realize, the HSF is called the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. And when it is stabilization, it's supposed to stabilize the fiscal expenditure of the government, which means in times of plenty, you would increase your deposits into the HSF. In the times of less, you would take money from the HSF to really stabilize the economy. When there's too much revenues, you have the possibility of Dutch disease, inflation, all of those things that come from government overspending. When it's below, then you have a chance for recession and no job security and falling employment. And that's the HSF is supposed to stabilize boom and bust cycles. Our HSF has been performing extremely well. We had a record return last year in terms of return on investment, and we are poised to really invest capital into this economy, whether oil and gas prices are high or low.
What effect?
Minister, are we satisfied? Are we satisfied that we're doing a good enough job explaining this to the public at large?
Well, I mean, sometimes the economy and finance can be difficult to explain in layman's terms. But I've been doing a round of events. We've been trying to really inform people of Trinidad and Tobago exactly why certain things are being done, such as the fuel subsidy, why it was reduced, what is the intention of doing that, and so on. So we are trying our best in terms of working with the Ministry of Communications in trying to reduce some of the economic policies that we're doing into bite sizes that most people can readily understand and digest. So we are working on it, is what I'm trying to say.
What is the effect of Guyana's present upward swing on Trinidad and Tobago's investment attraction options, and also how much of a role will Ambassador Enel play in building synergies between Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago?
His role is extremely important. We believe that Guyana's success is our success. We are working together with our CARICOM brothers and sisters. They are our largest trading partners. Also, because of our advantage in the energy sector, it creates opportunities for local energy experts, even the NGC, other energy agencies, to do work in other parts of this region, including Guyana and Suriname. So Guyana's success is Trinidad and Tobago's success. And we are working together with CARICOM to improve and increase other initiatives that would benefit the entire region. So we are very happy to see what is going on in Guyana, and we are here to assist any way that we can.
Is that part of why we're hosting the Guyanese president coming up soon?
Well, it's a CARICOM event, and we are happy to host several events. They hosted over the region. I think Barbados had one the other day. There was an IMF conference for the region there, and now it's our turn to host I think we have an agricultural initiative that's coming soon that the Guyanese are extremely, I would say, gung-ho about.
Can you give us an update on one of the projects that this government has announced a little bit in the past, and I don't know if COVID had a part in slowing down its progress, was the solar energy farm that was announced. I think it's between Shell and I forget the name of the company. That to me is one of the more Light Source. That to me is one of the more progressive moves I have heard of in the last 10 or so years.
Yes, it's about 125 megawatts. When it's completed, it'll be the single largest solar park in the entire region. It's progressing, and it is something that we're extremely proud about. One, it improves our carbon footprint, which is part of the Paris Agreement, which we are signed on to. It also gives us an alternative source of renewable energy so that we can put some of our natural gas to work in the economy in different ways. Many of our foreign direct investment targets will ask that we have part of the energy that they're supplied with to come from a renewable source. So it helps us in our ability to attract foreign direct investment, especially in the technology sector, which is something I'll be talking about more later on.
Can I give you some free communication advice?
Uh-huh.
Your brand said,
Can I give you some free communication advice? It comes from Wendell's question a while ago about government's seeming inability to maximize some of the good works they're doing in a challenging time. And to me, the government has had a challenge or a gap in understanding that when you have mega projects like that, just saying it's the biggest solar plant in the Caribbean and it's 125 megawatts doesn't break down the information and tell about how important it is for Trinidad and Tobago moving forward 10, 15, 20 years, and breaking it down for the average citizen to understand that having a solar farm of that magnitude in Trinidad and Tobago is huge, not only in terms of what it can do for the economy with diverting the use of natural gas, but also improving our carbon footprint and putting us as a leader in renewable energy in the region. And the government has not done that successfully. They make sporadic statements on it. It's progressing, but getting us ready for it is something completely different. And the government is abysmally bad at that.
Yes, well, we had our recent retreat, as you'd be aware of, where we discussed a lot of these things. And all of the ministries have really decided to coordinate better with the Ministry of Communications so that we can better get these things across to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, when you leave a void out there, people like to put it.
But you have a whole Ministry of Communication, do a whole ministry, have a whole media network, a whole Ministry of Communication. Each ministry has a whole comms department and marketing department, and you're still struggling to get information out.
But
Wow.
that's what he now explaining, Paul. He now explaining that.
So after 7 years in office, you need a whole retreat to understand the importance of communication?
At this age, you know, there are so many different and new sources of people consuming information that we have to adapt.
And you all do have access to those sources of information?
Sorry?
And you all do have access to those sources of information and platforms?
Of course we do.
Or you're just really bad at it?
But he used his access this morning, Paul.
Yeah, but because you beg for him. I'm talking about to the why, and I'm being jocular in the middle here, but I'm really being serious about the importance of effective communication in any government.
Yes, I mean, it's forever changing, and we have to adapt. We've been working on doing that. I mean, it's...
Brian Manning, how long you in office now? You're getting real good, you know, let me tell you.
You ain't getting man to answer at all.
Ask you a question, and you're giving the answer too?
Exactly. You ain't getting man chance to answer.
You're getting real, again, you're property, you're getting real good.
As I was saying before, so rudely interrupted.
I had to call you a whirlpool now. Boy, you could spin.
It's difficult because you have your head down doing your job. And then you have to realize that there is an audience out there that you have to speak to. But that audience, in terms of this world of communication, is forever changing. It's dynamic. And what is working, what worked yesterday doesn't necessarily work today in terms of getting your point across. So that's a challenge that the Ministry of Communications has been dealing with, and also the different comms departments, is that the way people consume information has changed so much. Our parents would have read the newspaper. This generation does not read the newspaper to get its information, and we have to change as they change, and that is something
but that's not actually accurate though, because they may not read the physical newspaper, but they read the same newspaper online.
That's what I mean. It's how they consume information. You see, it's a different, and also they may take bite-sized videos. You know, you may send out forwards. There are so many ways. YouTube videos. It's a different world when it comes to communication.
All available to the People's National Movement government, Minister Manning. All available to the government.
And we are working on it.
How would you respond to those who suggest that part of the issue with government championing their good news, let me put it that way, is because they've had to spend so much time outing their own fires?
I would disagree with that. We have all been working extremely hard, especially during the past COVID crisis of the last 2 years, where I think we have performed admirably. International agencies have all given us credit and kudos for the hard work that we have done. You have to remember, there are so many countries in this region that are involved in an IMF program right now. We came through a COVID crisis with many economists recommending right sizing of the public service, calling for mass firing in the public service during this economic downturn for devaluation, which would dramatically increase the cost of living in this country. And this government did none of those things. People came out of this COVID crisis for the most part with their jobs intact and this economy on an upswing. So take a look at Barbados right now is in an IMF program. Jamaica, half this region is in the pocket of the IMF coming out of COVID. I went to a conference the other day where the IMF presented a financing tool specific to developing countries like those in this region, where it was a 30-year instrument. The first 10 years, there would be a moratorium, meaning that you would not have to pay or make any repayments on that debt or loan for that entire period. They made an instrument specifically for countries in this region that would have to borrow money and would have a difficult time repaying its debt anytime soon. Trinidad and Tobago is not in that category. We are nowhere near the IMF. We have an improved credit rating, which is a signal of the strength of our economy, and we are on the upswing. And you will see exactly what we are doing in time to come.
You see where they promote you? Would you be willing to take some calls?
Yeah, I know.
After you pass through this sieve, you're ready for any media house, you know. So we're preparing you for other media houses. We are going to open the phone lines. Our guest is Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Brian Manning, and Member of Parliament for San Fernando East.
East, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. San Fernando East.
So you can direct some questions or comments to Minister Manning, who has graciously agreed to be with us this morning.
I see, Minister Manning, I see there's a little political situation brewing in San Fernando City Corporation in terms of projects and which constituency they're falling in. I hope you all sort that out before it gets out of hand.
I am unaware of any such issue. I mean, some people may seem to think that there's something like that going on, but I can tell you that we are extremely focused on the projects that we have to implement, and that is all we're doing.
Yeah. Well, the mayor himself raised it, so I was wondering, maybe.
Yeah, you would have to ask him about that one.
Yeah. I saw a little issue raised.
And how is your constituency itself going? Because while you are engrossed in your work as a Minister of State, I'm sure you have to service your constituents also. Yes,
we spent the last weekend involved in the National Cleanup Campaign, really moving bulk waste out of the various areas. We were in Taradale, Monrepo, Pleasantville, Coquet Village. We've really been focusing on really getting down to a granular level in terms of dealing with the people of the constituency. You know, I have my usual weekend walk, so I go house to house within the constituency. There are several projects that we have identified. We want to get those moving. We want to have more housing. We have some community centers, or Coquet Pool and so on, that's going to be reopened soon. So we are really ready to go. And like I said earlier, we want our San Fernando East constituency office to become an outreach center, you know, where persons with any kinds of issue can come for help, you know, from Monday to Friday, not just when the MP is there to see the public. And we've been working diligently to do that. We're going to be going from area to area where we're going to have job fairs, free legal services, also free counseling for persons who may need that. Coming out of COVID, a lot of persons will have been traumatized by the experience of that crisis on the financial level, personal level, emotional level. And we want to ensure that our people have what they need to live their best lives.
What about development projects in the constituency?
Yes, well, San Fernando is a very residential project. Residential constituency. So we're working to develop some of our housing areas and so on. The community centers, those are more part of the infrastructure of San Fernando East than, say, some of the other constituencies.
I have a strange question for you now. Maybe a bit unfair. How do you think your late father would assess how the country is doing now?
Yes, well, I mean, I think a lot of the success that we're enjoying right now came from the policies that he implemented. Remember, he was the advocate for us going from an oil to a gas economy, which I think has saved this country over the past few years. Also, the establishment of the HSF is something that has also benefited and saved this economy. So I think he'd be extremely proud of the resilience that we have shown coming out of COVID and over the past few years, where we have really been lurching from economic crisis to economic crisis. We are working on becoming more diversified as an economy. It's more challenging than I think most people think, but I think he'd be overall pleased with the direction in which we are going, because it is a direction that he first pointed us when he was leader of this country.
The next question you don't have to answer. What advice would you have for the present Prime Minister?
I don't think he would be the one to give advice.
Knowing their history.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they were both people, I think, who had the same objectives but disagreed on how to achieve those objectives. There are two different people in terms of leadership style and in terms of how they decide to get things done. And that really was the sticking point, I think. So,
but you know, this country misses him terribly.
At the end of the day, they both wanted to see this country become the best that it could be and to achieve developed country status. And that's the goal that we all have.
You know, you mentioned digitization and the formation of the ministry and the investment in that. And with the exception of the Ministry of Transport, I have not seen the effect of that in the country yet. Why is that?
No, that's not true. Come on. That's not true. We have been digitizing every government service throughout the country. I mean, at every level. From public admin, yes, Ministry of Transport is one. Even Ministry of Finance. We just passed the bill the other day for checking, digital checking. You were in the Senate when we did that.
Yes, I remember that. That escaped my memory. I apologize.
Also, the Ministry of Finance is also working to start making payments digitally to bank accounts and not issuing checks. So all of these things, I mean, the Minister Bacchus has a mammoth task on his hands. I mean, he's a man, I don't think he comes up for daylight, because he is working around the clock. And he has been, he's a very capable individual, working very, very hard. And over time, you're going to see many of these things simply develop.
But again, Minister Manning, I mean, and yes, you had to remind me about the checking thing, and I was there. It again speaks to communication with the public as to what is happening, because if I could forget and I was there, you could imagine the average citizen who may not look at Parliament, who doesn't understand, doesn't understand, but is not keeping up to track with what is available online now, because it's not communicated effectively as a new service available online.
That's a fact, which is why we really need to get Minister Bacchus back on.
And that's the difficulty that I'm talking about, right? Because it was spoken about in the Senate. It is reported on every available traditional media source. It's in the newspaper, it's on television.
Yeah, but that's not marketing. That's media coverage, which is different to marketing of services available.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed, and that's why we have to understand our target audience and understand how they absorb or digest this information.
At the same time, you're trying to understand the target audience, Minister, with the greatest of respect. We're in the digital age about 20 years now.
So I'm not in the Ministry of Communications. All I know is that we are working with them, and all of the ministries are working with them.
I probably need to do a workshop with them, I feel I need to do a workshop and see if I can help them out.
That is the way to go.
Because clearly they're missing the boat somewhere. They don't realize not everybody watches TTT, with the greatest of respect. And marketing of, and I'm really being serious here now, because it redounds to the benefit of every citizen if they understand and know what the new services are online. It decentralizes. They need to go into buildings. It makes it safer. And they have a right to know, quite frankly, because the service is for them.
An opposition term came to mind, but I won't use it because I think Paul is genuine in his comments and his efforts here.
You could use it, Don't matter to me.
No. But there's a deserving food if you had to eat it.
Well, watch me. The people who accuse it, anyway. I'm going to behave myself.
That is between you and Wendell.
I'm just saying, I think Paul is genuine. And I think
when you point fingers, for pointing back. That's what I will say.
Yeah.
Okay, when you point fingers, for pointing back. No, but I'm serious about the importance of effective communication, because if the government is spending money to invest in digitization, and is spending millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars in digitization, and they're putting services online, the public should be aware of what it is, how to access it effectively. Otherwise, it comes to almost naught. You're almost in it. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. In other words, use the technology to teach people about the technology. to let people know about the technology.
It's a mammoth task. We've only just created the Ministry of Digitization because it's been given.
Or you hire Tribe now. Tribe can market good. They get hundreds of thousands in the western area in the weekend. They get the jam and the wine whole weekend. With 1 week of marketing. Or you hire somebody who know what they're doing now. Oh God.
Marketing pets in this country is not hard. It's not difficult.
Marketing services is also not difficult if you know what you're doing.
If I tell you right now, free petting in Savannah at 1 o'clock, I'm sure there'll be 1 million people there at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
And if you tell me free Wi-Fi and free services available, so the people will access it. It's all about effective communication and effective marketing.
That's a fact.
Maybe
You know.
so.
And you have a media expert close to you.
Yeah, he doesn't work in the government though.
I didn't call any names, sir. You have a communication department in the ministry. I mentioned, I didn't mean anybody personal, sir.
Agreed.
I didn't call any names, sir.
Next thing you know, Minister Manning had to be recusing himself all the time.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't call any name. I just say you know people who are good at media, great at media and communication. I guess that's why you become so good at it.
That must be it.
Maybe everyone needs to have someone like that at their side. Richard, your microphone off.
Of the Ministry of Communications, like I said, it is an evolving situation. The way people consume information and access information.
When you say that, it makes me feel that it's only now the Ministry of Communication realizing that.
Not at all. It's just a moving target. It's not easy.
It is a moving target that everyone seems to master effectively. It's easier to get information out now to millions of people instantaneously. When Minister Imber tweets something, it goes out instantaneously, but there's no follow-up in the marketing channel to different areas or levels of the society, and that's the problem. People feel because it's on TDT or because you had a press conference, everybody see or hear it, or they could understand it or digest it. That's not so.
Yes, but it's difficult. I mean, like I said earlier, we spoke about the issue in terms of electronic checking in the Senate, and you were there, and you didn't remember it.
You much thing I see and hear in the Senate? You know much noise that is sift through in the Senate, with the greatest of respect?
No comment. I don't want to make any. I don't want to.
You know much information and misinformation comes at me in the Senate that I have to sift through? You know that.
Right? So it's difficult. It's difficult to get information to people in a way that they will consume it and remember it. And that has been a perennial challenge, and it's changing every single day. So we are working on it. This is all I can say at this point.
Minister Manning, thanks for being with us this morning.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me. Always.
Where should we send the check, the invoice?
Yeah, give it to Wendell.
Have a great day and be safe.
All right, Brian.
All right. All the best, guys.
All right, Minister Brian
Recording
Manning. All the
stopped.
best to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All the best. All right, let's get into our news brief. All courtesy Sean Flower Services.
This is your news.